Ah, the winter holidays, the darkest days of the year. So dark they last even into January. So we fill them with camaraderie, celebration, and reminiscence. And what better to reminisce on than your favorite fictional characters, those icons we all so adore. Who could forget Scrupulous Fingor from the new Super Mario Bros. Series? Even in such a silly, lighthearted game, he brought an air of mystery and horror. What about the Madcap from Team Fortress 2? Despite being in a game filled with endless fun and iconic humor, the edge of his aggressive punk attitude and brilliantly designed arsenal are a standout. And lest we overlook Heisenbones from Breaking Bad, the skeletal character who dropped one-liners and bone-related puns, but slowly disappeared from the show after the first season. There's no denying that these classic, iconic characters have all touched our lives in some way. Nah, I'm just fucking with you. If it wasn't obvious, these goobers are joke characters. Specifically, they're Gaslight characters. The name says it all. Ridiculous gag characters made up by a fandom for the sole purpose of pretending that they're real. Some became well known, while others fell into obscurity. It all depends on how well they fit within their original media. While the phrase gaslighting has existed for a long time, the concept of gaslight characters has become more and more prevalent over the years. You can find the telltale sparks of a gaslight character so easily that it's more like fire starting. Of course, all they are at the end of the day is jokes. You bring them up from time to time, have a bit of a chuckle, then you move on. But what if there was a character that took things to another level? A character that elevated things, elevated themselves away from the typical gag status, and slowly grew into something genuinely beloved? Allow me to introduce... The Wonder Goat! Now, Togore needs no introduction, but too bad because you're getting it anyway. While he may seem like a recent meme character, the fact is that his name and design can be traced back to over a decade ago. The first domino in this chain, at least as far as I'm aware, is an old Reddit post by user Awful Pun-Based Name, who came up with the name Togore in response to an Undertale comic. For a while, a name was all that Togore was. A few fan designs popped up here and there, either meant to be Togore or just borrowing the name, but there wasn't much else to it. That is, until 2015, when a Roblox user named Chicho made an Undertale roleplay game. Now, I want to clarify that I haven't played Roblox in a long time, so finding out about this was news to me. Even so, it seems like this RP game was pretty damn popular, if its 3 million plus visits are anything to go off of. What I don't need to guess on is this. According to this clip from 2016, the game had its own VIP rooms for players to peruse and have a wide choice of characters to pick from. Alongside the usual suspects are a few original characters, including, guess who? Our boy in the back, right there!
That's why he's the goat! The goat!
Comparing this sprite to his more modern incarnation, he looks a lot different. He seems more like an edit of Asriel than an actual original character. If we knew who made this sprite, maybe we could ask them about it, but sadly we don't. Still, we now have the first concrete design. This is the true beginning of Togore's existence. A few years pass by with nothing much happening. That is until July 26th, 2025, when TikTok user SunnyGX4 made the now iconic video about the lad himself.
Does anybody remember this Undertale character? His name is Togore Dreemurr, the middle child of Asgore and Tutorial Dreemurr, and brother to Asriel and Kara Dreemurr. He is the only child of the Dreemurrs that survived and is still alive in Undertale and can be seen in Metaton Resort. He doesn't have much plot significance, but that doesn't stop him from chilling. The weird thing is that every time someone tries to mention Togore to Toby Henry Fox, he freaks out. Don't know what his deal is.
This video exploded in popularity, skyrocketing Togore into the faces of many Undertale and Deltarune fans. They took to liking him so quickly due to his memorable appearance and simple backstory. Although it's possible that other now-deleted videos by the same creator helped fuel the fire as well. We really can't know for sure. And speaking of a memorable appearance, I'll just look at him. An oblong, almost umbrella-shaped head, a blue outline, although that's something his brother Azriel also has. And let's not forget his biggest feature, those eyes. Eyes you can't look away from. Even in the darkest of depths and the strongest of veils, those gazers could help him find his way out of anything. While we don't know who made the original Togore sprite scene in the video, we at least have confirmation for who made the modern interpretation. That being from someone who goes by Chapstick on Twitter, who admits they made it originally for the game as a redesign. As impressive as those peepers are, they aren't the only ones that are important to this story. All of Togore's newfound notoriety brought him to people's attention, and some even began making doodles and drawings of him. They were treating him like any scrungly type meme character, messing around with his design, exaggerating it in any way they could think of. Some made him sillier, some made him scarier, and some took a different route. They heavily focused on his backstory to create serious and genuinely emotional fan art of him. The earliest example I could find of serious characterization during Togore Mania was this comic from Mason Marmalade on Twitter. It takes an in-game quote from the Goner Kid, reusing and recontextualizing it to fit Togore. Other artists and animators went down this path, turning a forgotten character into someone who was quietly erased from existence. These pieces helped to popularize a more meaningful and dramatic take on Togore, and people began to form genuine attachments to this otherwise run-of-the-mill joke character. The weeks rolled by and more pieces continued to come out. Every one built upon the last and inspired others to try their own hand at expanding Togore's story. One of these is a comic by Reddit user example_k, Togore being locked out of his house only to get hit in the face by a snowball from another joke character who evolved alongside them, Chester Holiday, the older brother of Noel, who, just like Azriel, left home to pursue college. He apologizes for being our boy, and the two talk for a bit, though in the last panel we see Chester and Togore holding hands, with a blush growing on Togore's cheeks.
And they were roommates.
Oh my god, they were roommates.
If people weren't shipping these two before, they absolutely were now. Which, on some level, is a little silly, isn't it? It's one thing to ship two characters together, or ship a character with your OC, but it's a whole different beast to ship two characters together who never even existed in the first place. If my 20 years of being on the internet taught me anything, it's to never underestimate the power of shipping. As the number of comics featuring Togore increased exponentially, so did the number of Togore fans, each with their own take on him. One of these in particular did the most to make me fall in love with the character, and even inspired me to make this video. While I don't use Tumblr, it's one of the many places where you can find Miggs Boson, an artist that I absolutely adore. Their works, at least from what I've seen, all have this 2000s-esque vibe. That's mainly due to their use of blocky and thick outline designs. It's like a mix of Gennady Tarkovsky and Maxwell Adams. It's right up my alley. I love me some Y2K vibes. I stumbled across this series when I first got interested in Togore and devoured everything I could find about him. Their take on this little twerp was the catalyst for me realizing I love this character. Their aptly named Togore Time comic series delves into a really compelling interpretation of him. It's about 7 comics long at the time of writing. Some issues are shorter than others, but they're all good nonetheless. While Togore's backstory was pretty firmly established by this point, Togore himself was basically all unknowns. What was his personality? Does he perhaps have any relationships or potential hobbies? All of that gets answered here, which makes Miggs Boson's work stand out all the more. I was considering giving a play-by-play and breaking down everything I love about these comics and their presentation, but there's no way my yapping can do these comics justice. I'll still show off a few things, but I implore you to read through them on your own time. There's a lot of absolutely fantastic stuff that Miggs Boson put into these, and it's best if you can experience it all for yourself. I'll leave a link to their archives below, and we can dive into it after the break. Memes aside, what is Togore like? In this interpretation, at least. The most interesting facet of Togore from this comic, at least to me, is his autism. While that sounds like a bold claim, there's a reason it's the first thing I blurted out. Time after time in these comics, you can see him hyperfixated on cryptid hunting and solving the supernatural, such as in Song of the Lake. By the way, I completely forgot Onion Sand existed. Like, at all. We also see that he struggles with social cues, as the second comic shows Toriel trying to get Togore to use please and thank you. He also speaks in a fairly blunt manner throughout the comics, another trait common in autistic individuals. I've asked some of my autistic friends if I'm onto something here, and even they agree. What's really interesting is that I've even asked friends who haven't read these comics, and they see it too. Maybe there's something inherently autistic about Togore that I've just never noticed before. Honestly, I like it, and I think it adds to his character. Expanding out to the rest of his personality, he seems a lot more lax and laid back compared to Chris. He's a gamer, among other hobbies, and likes hanging out with his friends, the Holiday siblings, Noelle, Chester, and Des. He and Noelle are in the Hometown Cryptid Club, a once thriving club that has slowly shrunk down to just 2 members. And Birdley's there too, but who gives a shit about him?
Update! Apparently nobody gives a shit, so fuck up! Fuck off!
Despite being siblings, Togore's relationship with Chris is less familial and more roommate-esque. Whenever they're in the same comic, Chris is always up to some absolute bullshit, and Togore is either mildly frustrated or outright ignoring them. The one time we do get to see Chris and Togore hanging out is in the funny internet video comic, where they're kids enraptured by the dramatic chipmunk fad from '09. Damn, that's a throwback. Bringing it up makes me feel like I'm in that one skit from Family Guy, where the old guy's telling people how seeing the innovation of electricity was mind-blowing. Before we move on, I do want to bring up 2 things. First, he does say his iconic catchphrase. It's incorporated into the story in a super cute way that I won't spoil here. Secondly, I wanted to add to the Togore interpretation train and share a headcanon of my own. So when it comes to Deltarune, we know that the main trio have their own musical talents. Chris is a pianist, Susie is a drummer with an interesting guitar, and Ralsei is a vocalist. With that in mind, I have a proposition for y'all. That totally isn't me projecting or anything. Togore would be an electronic artist, and my reasoning's simple. In every interpretation of the character, Togore tends to be alone most of the time. In this comic especially, when he isn't looking for Des, browsing the internet aimlessly, or chatting with Noelle, he's gotta be doing something. Maybe he's indulging in music or trying to make his own. I could imagine him being a big fan of artists like Aphex Twin, Boards of Canada, or even Pilot Red Sun. He's the odd one out when compared to Chris and Asriel. One's rambunctious and gets into hijinks, the other is a socialite that went off to college. Togore's just kind of there. Like, yeah, you see him sometimes, but he doesn't get up to much. That kind of person is exactly the type who listens to these kinds of artists. Someone who wants outsider music, be it flavorful beats or melancholic tones. They'd comfort and inspire him, just like they do with me. So, that's Togore, and he's so fucking cool, especially with how Miggs Boson characterizes him and the rest of the cast. They're a phenomenal artist, and I get genuinely hyped whenever they post a new issue. Every comic one-ups the last. It's not just the talented artists who make Togore shine, but all the other members of the Undertale and Deltarune fandom who contributed to him and his story. I don't fully partake in the fanbase, but I do consider myself to be in the know of what happens with it here and there. Especially with all of the fan games, artwork, and writing being done by them, and Togore is no exception. I'm so happy that Togore didn't become a flash-in-the-pan joke character that we all moved on from, because to me, he's something special and it really shows. The fact that people saw this goofball and decided, hey, let's take this character from a meme video and flesh them out as much as we can, shows the level of effort the fandom is willing to go to with anything. What started as a gag ended up evolving into a character that people genuinely liked so much that they even consider him canon to Deltarune, and honestly, that's so sweet. He definitely wouldn't have gotten this status if it weren't for all the people who added to his lore, and especially everyone else who drew him for fun. After all this, I still think back to Awful Pun-based Name, the first person to come up with Togore. They seem so far removed from all this, I can't help but wonder if they know about modern Togore, or if they understand that they helped make this a reality. Whether it was in a silly or serious manner, at the end of the day, it caused a chain that led us to where we are now. Now usually this is where I thank everyone for watching and end off the video, but you're wrong! Wrong! The reason for that being that I have a little something extra for you all. I managed to score an interview with the Miggs Boson themselves. They were happy to take time out of their day to do a text-based interview, so with that in mind, here's how such an event went. What was your first reaction to Togore back when the meme started, or whenever you first saw it or him?
I thought he was ugly in a cute way at first, but then I saw a sad comic by New Is Neo on TikTok, where Alze makes tea for Togore. It really changed everything about him for me. From then on, he was just a weird, quiet kid that no one had noticed before.
What about Togore inspired you to start writing your comics?
Oops, I didn't read ahead. The New Is Neo comic 100%. It made me so melancholy. Beyond that, the community effort to make him coagulate/congeal into a coherent guy was so much fun to be a part of. It was really energizing. That once I got the ball rolling on the comics, little Togore became a vessel, lol, for some complexest personal emotions I had always wanted to explore through comics. It helps that people have the context of all the other characters and plot of the game Deltarune itself. I don't have to world build as much. Thanks, Toby!
Do you have the story for Togore Time fully planned out, or are you making it up as you go along? Somewhere in the middle?
I text my friends random ideas and ask if it makes them sad. If they send back a bunch of crying emojis, then I start thumbnailing. Okay, this is the boring answer, but it's somewhere in the middle. Ugh, because side makes. I'll have questions I want to answer in a comic eventually, like, are Chris and Togore chill with each other or no? And will Togore ever learn about the Dark Worlds? If so, how? Or little moments I want to get to. For example, I had the idea of the Cryptid Club all piling into Pizza Pants' car for a while before I did the comic. Or I'll just start typing in my notes app at 2 in the morning with nothing but a singular feeling that I want to capture. It's higgledy-piggledy, as the kiddos say. I also have a quasi-rule to try not to make predictions about the game with my comics. It's why I've set everything pre-Chapter 1. This has the unfortunate side effect of locking me out of character growth Susie. So it's hard to plan too far ahead in the future with that self-imposed restriction. That being said, I do have a couple different endings in mind for the comic, but I'm trying not to commit to making a grand epic with a beginning, middle, and end. Scale's the motivation killer. This is first and foremost just a fun way for me to make everyone sad. Heart.
I've noticed a lot of people headcanon Togore as autistic or give autistic traits to his characterization. I've noticed the same in your comics, in fact. Was this done intentionally? And if so, why?
Yeah. After the first comic got a lot of attention, there were a lot of comments about Togore vibing autistic. I had autism in mind for his character already, but after seeing what everyone had to say, I decided to be very intentional with it. Then I gave him his headphones so he wouldn't get overstimulated all the time, which made it hard canon at that point. I had first thought that Togore might be on the spectrum when I saw the New Is Neo comic. Something about how they drew him made his flat affect, the eyes, make so much sense. I've had a lot of friends and family, mostly autistic ones, say that I might be autistic. I truly don't think I am. I've taken many tests. Not to imply that autism is somehow a negative thing, of course. I personally think social anxiety and ADHD together can end up looking similar to autism. But that being said, a lot of Togore's experiences are my own. Being reminded to make eye contact or falling down the research rabbit hole. And if folks on the spectrum relate, I love that. Really, I just want to do a good job with him, so I do my best to pay attention and listen.
How do you feel about the newfound attention you've garnered from these comics?
Extremely flattered. Hachimachi all came out of nowhere. I had a medium-ish following before all this, but never had this kind of response to any continuous project of mine before. The videos, the art, the occasional fanfic? I hope that if I ever do something on Togore, y'all give him a chance.
I'd like to thank everyone for watching. This is my first time doing both a Deltarune and a character-based video, so let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As usual, I'd like to thank Rotting Coffee for always being my go-to narrator, alongside Snickerpuff for helping with every script I make, and doing voiceover for Miggs Boson. I'd also love to thank Burly for the thumbnail work, and my friend Brando Stoopy for the added art frames used for the video. If you liked this video, hit the like button, and if you want to see more like it, check out my last video talking about F-Zero X. I'm trying to make more content despite my struggles with procrastination, and I do have some more stuff in the works for the future. So if that piques your interest, keep an eye out. Have a happy new year, and take care.